Welcome, listeners, to this week's episode of Intoxicating Justice, drug true crime stories from thedailydank.com. I'm your host, Brian Brown, and I'm thrilled to have you join me today. On this show, we dig into some of the most shocking, twisted, and frankly, unbelievable stories of drug-related crime. Today, we have a gripping tale that I'm sure will leave you stunned. We're diving into the life of Lori Arnold, who many know as the Queen of Meth. Her story is a cautionary tale of power, addiction, and ultimately downfall. It serves as a stark reminder of just how destructive meth can be, not only for those who use it, but for everyone who gets caught in its orbit. Now, before we get into Lori's story, I want to share something personal with you all. I know firsthand how devastating methamphetamine can be. I was addicted to meth for 5 long years, and those were some of the darkest days of my life. The lies, the chaos, the utter destruction, it consumed everything. But here's the silver lining. I've been meth-free for just under 30 years now. That's nearly 3 decades of rebuilding my life, one day at a time. Why do I bring this up? Because behind every story of meth addiction and crime, there's real pain, real destruction, and sometimes, just sometimes, real redemption. It's an angle that makes today's episode especially powerful and close to my heart. And hey, if you're craving more dank content about cannabis culture, true crime, and everything in between, don't forget to check out thedailydank.com. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. All right, let's get into it and uncover the life of the Queen of Meth, Lori Arnold. All right, folks, let's start with the origins of Lori Arnold, the Queen of Meth. Lori's journey into the underworld of drug crime started shockingly young. Imagine being just 14 years old and facing a life-altering situation. Well, that's exactly what happened to Lori. At 14, Lori was forced into marriage with a 23-year-old man. And get this, it was under the threat of jail. It's hard to fathom the kind of trauma and confusion she must have felt. On her wedding night, Lori, still just a teenager, was at a bar, drinking. That marriage was ridiculously short-lived, ending in just 6 months, but it left scars that would follow her into adulthood. So fast forward a bit, Lori gets married again, and this time she has a son. But just like many struggling families, they found themselves tight on money, and this is where things start to take a darker turn. Lori's brother-in-law introduced her to methamphetamine. It's a crazy twist of fate, but Lori, much like many others, was hooked from the very first line. I can speak from experience here. That first hit can be deceptively magical, pulling you into a world of false promises. But for Lori, it wasn't just about the highs. She saw something more, a twisted opportunity, an opportunity to make a lot of money. And boy, did she take it. Lori transitioned from being a user to a dealer in no time. She had this uncanny knack for spotting market gaps and exploited them with ruthless efficiency. By the mid-1980s, Lori had established a burgeoning drug operation. It wasn't just small-time dealing. She was building the foundation of what would become a meth empire. The scale and audacity of her operations were something else. We'll dive deeper into that in the next segment. If this story has grabbed your interest and you want to hear more about the dark and twisted world of drugs and crime, make sure to visit thedailydank.com. Trust me, we have plenty of stories that'll keep you hooked. Stay tuned, because coming up next, we'll explore how Lori went from running a small operation to working directly with Mexican cartels and dominating the Midwest meth trade. You won't want to miss it. All right, now let's dive into the next chapter of Lori Arnold's unbelievable story, building an empire. By 1985, Lori's meth operation was far from small time. She took bold steps and built connections that most would find unthinkable. Yes, Lori was in direct dealings with the Mexican cartels. That's right. She wasn't just another dealer. She was the Midwest's go to person for meth, moving massive quantities from California all the way to Iowa. Lori's operation was anything but small scale. She had drivers transporting loads worth up to $100,000 at a time. Imagine the logistics behind that, coordinating routes, timing, and ensuring every shipment made it through without catching the eye of law enforcement. It was a well oiled machine, run with precision that you wouldn't expect from someone who had only been in the game a few years. But even the best laid plans can run into snags. One of Lori's drivers had a close encounter in Utah. The driver got stopped at a roadblock, and it wasn't your run of the mill traffic stop. It led to an arrest. Here's where things get dicey. Lori had to cough up $50,000 in bail money. Fortunately for her, the driver only spent about 30 days in jail. It was a close call, too close. Lori admitted, I thought we got lucky on that one. And she was right. The lucky streak was running thin, but for now, her empire continued to flourish. It's moments like these that highlight the razor thin line between success and downfall in the drug trade. Stick with us because we're just getting to the most intense parts of Lori's story. Up next, we'll talk about how the DEA finally caught up with her and what led to the dramatic takedown of her operation. Keep listening. Are you ready to elevate your cannabis experience? Welcome to thedailydank.com, your ultimate destination for everything weed, laughs, and good vibes. We're more than just a website, we're a community, a place where cannabis lovers come together to share, learn, and have a blast. Whether you're tuning in for the wild and hilarious 420 Somewhere podcast, getting your game face on during one of our epic game night live sessions, or waking up to the Wakey Bakey morning show for your daily dose of fun, we've got something for everyone. Dive into our exclusive podcast, from the spooky to the weird to the downright hilarious. We've got a show for every kind of stoner. We're not just about listening. We want you to join in. Our online meetups and community events give you a chance to connect with fellow dank heads and dive deep into everything cannabis culture. And hey, if you're looking for your people, you finally found them. The Daily Dank is your home for all things stoner culture, crazy theories, and a whole lot of fun. Join the family today at thedailydank.com. This is more than just a website. It's a lifestyle. That's thedailydank.com. All right, folks, the moment we've been building up to, the fall of the Queen of Meth, Lori Arnold. After years of expanding her meth empire and making a name for herself, Lori was finally under the microscope of federal authorities. The DEA had her in their sights for a long time, carefully watching her every move, building a case that was ironclad. By 1991, they decided it was time to make their move. On November 7th, Lori's world came crashing down. The DEA executed a raid on her home, catching everyone off guard. Can you imagine the chaos of a raid? Agents busting through doors, yelling commands, all while Lori's young son was present. It's a scene out of a nightmare, and it marked the end of Lori's reign. The charges were severe: drug trafficking, money laundering, gun violations, and operating a criminal enterprise. Lori and her husband Floyd found themselves in handcuffs, facing a laundry list of charges that would make anyone's head spin. This wasn't just a slap on the wrist. The fallout was enormous, and it was clear that Lori's days of operating outside the law were over. Lori served her sentence, but the story doesn't end there. After her release, many hoped she'd turn a new leaf. Unfortunately, Lori fell back into her old habits and re entered the meth game. The second chance she had was squandered, resulting in another arrest and 6 more years behind bars. It's a heartbreaking cycle, but one that's all too common among addicts and criminals alike. When you look at Lori's story, it's easy to see the cyclical nature of addiction and crime. Once you're in, getting out is incredibly difficult. The lure of easy money and the trap of addiction create a vicious loop. Breaking free from it takes immense strength and an incredible amount of support. For Lori, that struggle was a lifelong battle. Stay with us, because coming up next, we'll dive into the profound cost of living in the meth world and wrap up Lori Arnold's tumultuous journey. Now let's turn to the grave cost of living in Lori Arnold's meth-fueled empire, a cost that extended far beyond financial gain. The most immediate and perhaps most heart-wrenching toll was on Lori's personal life. Relationships that might have been her anchor in the storm were irrevocably damaged. Her connection with family members and friends withered under the strain of her illegal activities and addiction. Despite her brief moments of immense power and wealth, true freedom eluded Lori. She may have controlled a meth empire, but she was never in control of her own life. Even after Lori served her prison sentence, the struggle was far from over. Breaking free from meth's grip is a lifelong battle. Lori's story highlights how addiction's shadow looms long after the last hit. Freedom from prison didn't mean freedom from the chaos that meth wrought on her life. It was a constant fight, each day a step in a seemingly endless journey of recovery. The physical and psychological scars linger, adding another layer of complexity to an already challenging path to redemption. It's essential to discuss these stories, not to sensationalize them, but to reveal the raw consequences of such a destructive lifestyle. When society understands the full scope of what addiction and drug trafficking entail, we make steps towards more empathy and perhaps more effective solutions. We can see these individuals as more than just their crimes, recognizing the human beings behind the sensational headlines. For me, Lori's story resonates on multiple levels. Having lived through my own battle with meth addiction, I understand the depth of the struggle and the longing for a way out. Lori's candor in the Queen of Meth documentary on Discovery Plus brings her humanity to the forefront. Her words, "I got out of prison, but I'm pretty much serving a life sentence for selling drugs," hit hard. Her empire made her rich and powerful, but it also destroyed her inner peace and future. It's a chilling reminder that living in the meth world extracts a heavy toll on one's soul. So, when you watch or read about such tales, remember there's a person behind the story, a person who fought and often lost against the powerful force of addiction. All right, folks, now that we've traced the rise and fall of Lori Arnold, it's time to step back and reflect on some key takeaways from her tumultuous journey. What can we learn from Lori's life as the Queen of Meth? First up, lesson one: addiction fuels continuous destruction. From my own experience, I can tell you that meth doesn't just harm the user, it devastates everything in its path. Lori's story is a perfect example of this. She started as a user, then transitioned to dealing, creating a cycle of chaos that swallowed her whole. The grip of addiction fueled her rise, but it also assured her downfall. It's an all consuming fire that destroys dreams, relationships, and lives. Next, we have lesson two: the far reaching impact of one person's choices. Lori's actions didn't just affect her, they sent shockwaves throughout her entire community. Her family, her friends, and even people she'd never met got caught in the fallout. It's like throwing a rock into a pond. The ripples extend far and wide, touching everything in their path. Lori's empire may have dissolved, but the scars of her choices remain etched in the people and places she affected. And finally, lesson 3, the arduous journey to break free from meth. Lori's story shows us that breaking free from the chains of addiction is one of the hardest battles anyone can fight. Even after serving her sentence, the shadow of meth loomed large in her life, pulling her back into the cycle. It's a fight many lose, but it's a battle that's necessary to reclaim one's life. Recovery isn't a straight path. It's filled with relapses, struggles, and small victories. Lori's ongoing struggle underscores the high stakes and the immense effort needed to break free. So there you have it. Lori Arnold's life offers us a sobering look at the perils of meth addiction and crime, and it reminds us of the human stories behind the headlines. Her journey is a cautionary tale, but also a call to empathy and understanding for those still fighting their battles. Welcome to the Healing Center, located at 1400 Needles Highway in the heart of Needles, California, right off the iconic Route 66 and just a stone's throw from the breathtaking Colorado River. But that's not all. Prepare yourself for the ninth wonder of the world, the legendary Wall of Flower. With over 60 brands and strains of top-tier cannabis, you'll be in flower paradise. At the Healing Center, we don't just have the best selection, we offer the lowest prices around. We're proud to be known as the #1 cannabis superstore in all the land, offering the best service, the best deals, and a shopping experience like no other. So why wait? Come check out the world-famous Healing Center for yourself and see what all the buzz is about. For the latest scoop and hottest deals, head over to thedailydank.com and stay in the know. The Healing Center, where quality meets affordability. Your cannabis journey starts here. As we wrap up today's episode, let's take a moment to reflect on the life and legacy of Lori Arnold, known infamously as the Queen of Meth. From her turbulent beginnings, forced into a traumatic marriage at the tender age of 14, to rising as a powerful meth dealer with ties to Mexican cartels, Lori's life is a harsh illustration of the destructive power of methamphetamine. Her downfall, marked by multiple arrests and the subsequent turmoil, underscores the profound costs of addiction and crime, costs that extend far beyond finances to touch relationships, freedom, and inner peace. If today's story captivated you, there's so much more waiting for you at thedailydank.com. Whether it's more gripping tales of true crime or the latest in cannabis culture, we've got you covered. Dive into a world of stories that are as enlightening as they are entertaining. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Your support and curiosity drive us to continue bringing you these powerful stories. Remember, the choices you make today can shape your tomorrow. Lori's story is a testament to that, and it's a reminder that redemption, though difficult, is never out of reach. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep questioning. This is Brian Brown signing off from Intoxicating Justice, Drug True Crime Stories. Take care.